In this video, I'm going to go over my final project, a password manager for CS-521, information structures with Python. My first script is a user-defined class. First of all, I import a few modules. The JSON module is used to read and write the JSON files. The hashlib module is used for hashing users' passwords. The OS module is used to interact with the local file system and generate random bytes to salt the passwords. The time module is used to implement cooldown periods for failed logins. The UserDB class handles user registration, authentication, and data storage through a JSON file. The attributes include self.filename. The default is userdata.json. Self.userdata is a private dictionary that contains usernames, passwords, and their respective salt. Self.usernames is a private set that stores registered usernames. Self.userCount keeps track of the registered users. Self.login attempts tracks the number of failed login attempts. Self.cooldown tells the program if the user is in a cooldown period after 3 failed login attempts with a Boolean value. Self.cooldownEnd stores the time until the cooldown period ends, and self.currentUser stores the logged in user. Next, the program uses the findFile method to see if the user data file exists, recursively looking throughout the system using the OSWalk method, while also disregarding the capitalization of file names. If the file is found, it is confirmed to the user and the file attribute is updated, where the user database is loaded by the loadUserData method. This method loads existing user data from the JSON file and updates the private attributes, user data, and usernames. If the file is not found in the findFile method, the else suite is executed and a new JSON file is created through the createUserFile method. The saveUserData method is used to update and save user data to the JSON file. This method is called every time a new user registers to the program. The salt method creates a 16-byte random salt, then converts it to a hexadecimal string for password hashing. The userExist method checks if a given username is already registered and returns true if the user exists. The hashPW method hashes the password with a salt using the SHA-256 algorithm, encoding the combined string into bytes before hashing it. The regUser method registers new users by prompting for a username and password. The user will not be able to register if the username already exists. Assuming a new username is input, the password will be salted and hashed, and both username and password will be stored in the database. The username is then added to the set of existing usernames, and the user count is incremented. Here we see the saveUserData method. Again, this will save the new user to the JSON file and complete registration. The login method authenticates users by verifying their credentials. It begins by checking if the cooldown is active or not. If active, it calculates how much longer, telling the user to wait the remaining time and denying login. If inactive, the user is able to enter their credentials, where the input password and corresponding salt are hashed and compared to the stored hash value to log in. If invalid credentials are input, the login attempts are incremented. If the user provides invalid credentials 3 times, they will enter a cooldown period for 2 minutes, denying further login attempts until the cooldown period is over. The repr method provides a string representation of the UserDB object when it's printed. It returns a string showing the total login attempts and whether the cooldown is true, active, or false, inactive. Finally, the len method returns the total number of registered users in the user database. In the main script, I imported the JSON module and the UserDB class. Services initializes an empty dictionary to store service-specific credentials, as we'll see later on in the script. The addService function adds lowercase service names and the user's credentials to the services dictionary, creating a nested dictionary. Each service is a key in the outer dictionary, and the credentials are values of the username and password keys in the inner dictionary. The getService function returns service-specific credentials in a tuple if the specified service exists. If not, none is returned and service not found will be printed. The allServices function returns all of the added credentials from the addService function. If no credentials are in the services dictionary, no services found will be displayed to the user. The saveServices function saves all of the user's credentials to a JSON file called allservices.json. Let's briefly look at the main program, then get into a demonstration. I didn't have the user data file on my machine before, so Python created it for me. Let's see what it looks like. It should be an empty dictionary, and it is. So let me register an account. Right away it gets updated. I'm going to log in with an account that doesn't exist. Username does not exist. Let me log in with the proper credentials. And a different menu right away. Let me add a service. Google and user1, pass1. Google added successfully. Let me add another one. Facebook. and user 2, pass 2. And let me retrieve the service information from Google. And it gets printed out correctly. And let me get all the saved service information, so Facebook and Google. And both of them get printed out correctly. Now let me show persistence. I'm going to log out of my account and break the program. And I'm going to run the program again. Right away you notice the loaded one user from user data. And let me log in with an account that doesn't exist again. User pass. Username does not exist. Let me log in with my credentials and the service menu again. Everything looks good. Thank you for watching.